What is going on, YouTube? I am Prepper Princess, the author of Living on Almost Nothing. If you are interested in purchasing my book, I will go ahead and leave a link down in the description box below. And as the title indicates, I do live on almost nothing, which I've done my entire adult life. I had a goal to get out of debt and become rich. And, well, rich depends on what your definition of rich is. Hello. Sorry. All right, everybody. So I wanted to talk to you about something I read earlier today. There is something with the baby boomers and I believe millennials. I'm technically a millennial, where they are worried about the next generation being able to afford a house at some point in their lives. Now, everybody has a different opinion based on their own personal experiences. Everybody's going to think differently. And I've just found, okay, so the rising cost of inflation, the average home cost is like $450,000 now. And okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. The average home. There's not a nice way to put it politely. People don't want an average home. They want a luxury move-in ready home. So let's talk about this for a second here. All right. A few years ago, I bought a house in Arizona for $67,000. It wasn't in the best neighborhood. It wasn't the nicest house. It was a fixer-upper, 2-bed, 2-bath. $67,000 for a house in a town with a booming economy. So getting a job would not be difficult. I paid for that house in cash. While I was there, I saved up my money and I bought this house in cash. Now, if the average home is $430,000, I live in California in a very nice area. My house was less than half that because I chose simple. I chose a modest home over the luxury move-in ready home as opposed to that. I chose the fixer-upper, has foundation issues, needs a new roof, doesn't have a garage type house because, I don't really need much. I don't need much. I'm within a half mile to a grocery store in either direction. I'm close to the police department, fire department, library, post office are all on my street. They're on my street within 2 blocks. The schools here are average. But I don't have kids that go to school. I don't have kids. I'm not going to school. So that doesn't bother me. I also decided to choose a home in a county, because yes, counties matter, where the property taxes would remain low. So I'm in Northern California. Property taxes are about $800. They're $816.30 a year. That's how much my property taxes were this year. I have no mortgage. I have no car payment, student loans, medical debt, or credit card debt. I have no debt. Now, here's the thing with the cost of inflation that everybody is complaining about is that they're just wanting things that are beyond their budget. And they say, I can't make it. I'm renting for $2,500 a month. What? $2,500 a month. Now, I know where typical... I don't want to get into it. You can get in a cheaper apartment. You can. You could probably... not probably. You can. You can get something cheaper. You just won't. Because it's not in the area that you want. It doesn't have a gym, a spa, a hot tub, sauna, swimming pool, laundromat in your apartment complex. So you won't move. Let me tell you about the last apartment I lived in. Back in my 20s, I was there for, God, I don't know how long. It was many, many years. I was there for many years. Built in the 1940s. It had an ironing board that came out of the wall in the kitchen. And it was a tiny ironing board. It's a little teeny tiny one. Single pane windows. No insulation. I could hear the person who lived in the apartment above me fart every morning when she woke up. Not kidding. I could hear her every morning. She'd wake up and fart. There was no laundry in my apartment. I had to the apartment had a laundry facility, which was one coin operated washer and dryer. That's it. One. You had to like wait in line to do your laundry. No garages. There were parking spaces with no carports. The tile in the kitchen was that 1970s yellow tile, and the kitchen countertops were, it was like a blue with a dark red border, and it was tile. The bathroom was salmon pink. The carpet in the bedroom, no, the whole apartment was dark brown, dark brown. There was a wall heater, and the breaker kept tripping because I used too much electricity if I turned on the air conditioner and my TV at the same time. So I lived you know what? Honestly, I loved that apartment. I also lived in one of those fancy ones that had the pool and everything, and then I had to lose that because my roommate wasn't paying his half of the rent. So I went and decided maybe it's a better idea if I just live on my own. And I was in that apartment forever. I was in there forever. But it was my favorite. Probably if I won the lottery, I would buy that little 8-plex. It was an 8-plex of apartments, and then there were like 2 houses on the property. One that the property manager lived in that was a 2-bed, 1-bath. All the apartments were 1-bed, 1-bath. And since I was on the lower level, I turned the stairs. There was this, there's stairs. So I had this giant, storage area there was a walk-in closet in the living room, and a giant storage area under the stairs. That I used to make homemade soap, and the walk-in closet was so big, I turned it into my office. And and there was also a closet on the other side of the living room, right smack dab in the middle of the wall. So where am I supposed to put my TV in the living room? So I covered that closet with a curtain that looked like a decoration. So like a curtain on a rod, just to make it look like it was a wall. I don't even know. And then I put my TV in front of the curtain. I loved that apartment. I still remember the apartment manager, Mary. She probably still lives there. Anyway, when my mother ended up passing away, I moved into her house, paid off the mortgage, and then spent the next 10 years fixing up the house. But when I left that apartment, Mary came up to me and she said, "You are welcome back any time." I paid my rent on time every time, if not early. When I left, the apartment was just as clean when I left as when I moved in several years before. The only difference was the carpets were a little bit more worn. I shampooed the carpets before I left. I scrubbed the inside and out of the refrigerator. I kept that place in pristine condition. I really loved that apartment. What was sorry. Little nostalgia there. My bad. Okay, sorry. So people are getting apartments. Okay. I apologize. Am I worried about the next generation? Yes and no. So I don't have children, but I do have 4 nieces and nephews, and I have set up my life so that they will be okay. Meaning, this house is a 2-bed, 1-bath. That house in Arizona is a 2-bed, 2-bath. So there's 4 children, and that's 4 bedrooms. So if anything happens, if they fall on hard times, something bad happens, they have that house in Arizona free of charge anytime that they need it, as long as I don't have a renter in there. And if I do have a renter, we'll just wait till the lease is up and then it's all theirs. But they will have a place to live rent-free, because when my mother passed away and I moved in and I took over the mortgage and I paid it off, even though it wasn't free to me, I took full advantage of that opportunity, and I took that 10 years while I was fixing up the house, and I just put every extra dollar I had into my brokerage accounts and my 401ks. So that was a huge help. And I think that it's my duty as a steward of my finances to pay it forward, and to do that for God and for my family. A good person leaves an inheritance to their children's children. And a lot of people talk about their children just blowing it. Well, then you didn't really leave an inheritance to your children. You just left them money. You didn't leave them the skills and knowledge to do the same thing. So my job is to take any money that's been given to me and to grow it. Not to just stop it or save it or bottleneck it. My job is to make it blossom and grow. And then the next generation, their job is to make it blossom and grow as well. So any opportunity that I give to them, if they don't take full advantage of that opportunity, they get that opportunity taken away from them. So I'm not worried about the next generation. I'm worried about the affluenza and the consumption here in the United States, which we already know is not sustainable at all. And the people who complain that you can't get ahead, the corporations are taking all my money, I can't afford a house. These are people who only want the fancy big houses in the best possible neighborhood while they're working minimum wage at Walmart as a stalker, overnight stalker, and they're not willing to take on a second job. They're not willing to go to school to learn a trade to become a plumber or an electrician or an apprentice of some kind. It's people that just simply, in my opinion, want too much for nothing. They want everything for nothing. And that is the normal culture that we are dealing with here in the United States. And we've been dealing with this culture for 20, 30 years. If people really educated themselves on finances, they would realize that it's not the corporations taking all their money. It's the government that's taking all your money. You are taxed on 50% of everything that you earn. If you don't believe me, you can add it all up. And it's not just sales tax and income tax. It's property tax, bridge tolls, you name it. There are taxes on every bill you get. You get your sewer bill and you get a tax. And then you get little fees on top of that. You get your garbage bill. There's fees and taxes on top of that. And it's all taken by the government. And the government has not given me anything. Nothing that I've used. Yes, they give me police officers and firemen that I have never used. They give me good schools that I do not use. My parents paid for the schooling, and I'm supposed to pay for the next generation, but I don't have a next generation. So my tax dollars are going to things that are of no use to me. They are going to people that I do not agree with should have my money as well. They're going to fight wars that I do not agree with. They're going to bridge tolls on bridges that I don't use, infrastructure that I've never seen. There's potholes up and down every street I know of and every highway and freeway from here to Cattleman Zoo that are never fixed. So I don't really know where our tax dollars are going, but I do know that 50% of everything that we earn is taxed. And then don't forget, you're taxed on your money, and then you invest it, and then you're taxed on the money that you earned from the money you already paid tax on. It's not the corporations that are taking all over, that are not providing a standard of living. Because you have the choice to leave that company and go to a company that does provide a standard of living that meets your qualifications. However, you do not have a say in how much of your money that the government gets. So, when it comes to inflation, my apologies, it does not affect me. And the reason that it does not affect me is because I am debt-free. Now, people talk about, well, what about the food prices, I am still, I spent about $100 a month, a little bit less over the last, I don't know how many years. And I would say that I've increased it to probably $150, between $130 and $150 per month on food, for me and my two dogs combined. But that's by choice. That's not because of the inflation of prices. That's because I chose to increase it. So instead of getting bananas, I'll get dragon fruit. because I like dragon fruit more than bananas, and I have the income to sustain that. Instead of getting peanuts, I'll get pistachio nuts, which are more expensive, and I just like them better. But again, I have the income to sustain that. Instead of getting, like, I'm just using examples here, not things that I do every single day. So instead of getting carrots, maybe I'll get mushrooms one week. And carrots are 68 cents a pound, but mushrooms are like $3.50 a pound. So I'm making small little changes just based on things that I like better. But I could absolutely go back to $100 a month and I wouldn't have any issues. But inflation does not affect people who are debt free. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of viewers on here who are going to do the poverty mindset, and they're going to be like, must be nice, because that's something that we get all the time, as if we've never been through any trials and tribulations and everything was handed to us in life. No. We work hard. Everybody works hard, but some of us choose to do different things with our money than others. So I drive a 25-year-old car. 98 Toyota Camry with 90,000 miles on it that I got for $4,000. I live in a house that is less than half of the price of the average home here in the United States. And I live in California, one of the most expensive states in the country. And I still got it for less than half the median of any house in any state in the United States. This house came with solar, so I don't have an electric bill. I actually make money off of my solar because I use less than the solar produces. My garbage bill has not gone up with inflation. My water bill has not gone up with inflation. Those are kind of like fixed costs that just haven't changed. So people who live debt free and they live within, or it's not a trick of living within your means, it's a trick of living below your means and then taking that excess money and then putting it to work to make you more money. You make your money have babies. They're your little baby makers. I want little baby dollars. So that is what people do. And we're not talking about frugality. We're talking about debt freedom. So I would say, if you want inflation to not affect you, live within your means, buy a house you can afford, buy a car that you can afford, pay in cash whenever possible. I paid cash for this house. I paid cash for my other house. Take advantage of every opportunity that's provided to you, and don't listen to other people who tell you the 10 different ways to beat inflation, because there's only one way to beat inflation, or to have it so that it doesn't bother you or it doesn't affect you. There is only one way, and that is to be completely debt free. All right, folks, that's what I've got for you today. Do what you can with what you've got. Prepper Princess out.